a lot of political party members or people who associate with political parties own a lot of these news channels and media organizations, right?
In a country as vast and vibrant as India, where diversity dances in every corner, elections transcend mere political events. They transform into a national festival, a spectacle of democracy where every street corner becomes a stage and every citizen becomes a participant in the grand theatre of governance.
As hoardings rise like monuments to democracy and slogans echo through the streets like anthems of change, the pulse of the nation quickens, pulsating with the promise of progress and the power of the people.
As we embark on this journey through the heart of democracy, join us in unraveling the tapestry of Indian elections, where every vote is a brushstroke and every citizen a painter of the nation's destiny.
In today's episode, we have a guest present. He is the founder of Youth Ki Awaaz, a UN Prize awardee, and was in Forbes 30 under 30 list. He is none other than Anshul Tiwari. Anshul sir is also an alum of Maharaja Agrawal College, and that's the college where we all study too. How amazing is that?
My first question is, how do political parties typically approach organizations for collaboration in their PR projects?
See, I think it's very different for different kind of organizations. When it comes to news and media organizations, technically political parties are not supposed to reach out to news organizations, like ethically speaking, because news is supposed to be free and fair. But I think it's fairly clear about the fact that a lot of political party members or people who associate with political parties own a lot of these news channels and media organizations, right? So there is association there. So I don't think they really need to approach, because there is, like, already some degree of collaboration, ownership, sort of a structure going on with news media organizations. And a lot of times media organizations also tend to side with political parties given the party of the day. It depends on, the government of the day, or the government in the state and things like
Makes
that.
sense. Based on popularity.
Yeah, and when it comes to PR companies and content creators, see, they are a business. They are not supposed to stand to any ethical or moral grounds
True.
when it comes to the work that they are doing. So when it comes to PR companies or content creators, or even like Instagram influencers, for example, they will respond to where the money is coming from, because that's their job. So in those cases, what we've typically noticed is that political parties just go ahead and hire these agencies, and then they go ahead and contract content creators or PR agencies and whatever it may be.
I think it's really hard to decipher if a particular post or comment is a part of PR or if it's genuine appreciation for a particular party or, a figure. Everything seems fake these days. I just cannot get myself to trust someone.
So, second question, could you elaborate on the concepts of toolkits and their role in political PR strategy?
I mean, when it comes to political strategies, currently what political parties care the most about is how can they sort of reach the most number of people in the fastest time possible, right?
Yeah.
It's not so much about how much they're spending, because they're spending a lot anyway. Like, the money spent on political advocacy, political campaigning is just tremendously high. So I think the essential role that toolkit sort of play, especially from the point of view of PR, is essentially in that, in making sure that they're able to capture public imagination as much as possible, as quickly as possible.
Wow, that was quite interesting to note down. Speaking of student parties, we have seen a fascinating shift in how they engage with the masses, especially through social media campaigns. Take Tushar Deda and Saransh Party, for instance. Their strategy to use platforms like Instagram and Twitter has revolutionized how young voters perceive and engage with politics. What are your perspectives on student political parties engaging in PR activities? How does this influence political discourse among the youth?
See, I mean, of course, political PR has a tremendous amount of impact on young people. It again goes down to the whole thinking of critical thinking, right? You have to understand how are young people brought up in India or in any country like India. They are brought up in a culture of silence. They are brought up in a culture where their political preference is decided by their parents already. तुम इसको वोट करोगे, हम इसमें बिलीव करते हैं, हमारे ये प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, हमारा ये कल्चर है, हमारा ये बिलीफ सिस्टम है, राइट? आपके पास फ्रीडम ऑफ चॉइस नहीं है एज ए फंडामेंटल फ्रीडम है आपके पास आपके कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, बट एक्चुअली फ्रीडम ऑफ चॉइस नहीं. आप करियर भी नहीं पिक कर सकते हो अपना, तो मतलब who you love, who you are, वो तो बहुत ही secondary हो गया, right? You can't even pick your own career. So if you don't have that degree of freedom, essentially it means that the way you think is very restricted. You prefer to go in a direction that has been carved out for you. So when political PR happens, you sort of get handed an idea, you get handed a narrative. It sort of comes to you with a preconceived notion, a preconceived belief. So obviously you buy into it a lot faster. वहां पे कोई इक्विटेबल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन तो है नहीं कि मतलब एक कोई बॉडी आएगी जो बोलेगी कि सारे पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज को इतनी ही अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी अपने आप को प्रमोट करने के लिए इतने ही तरीकों से, उससे ज्यादा कोई नहीं कर सकता. टेक्निकली इलेक्शन कमीशन ने रूल्स बनाए हुए हैं, बट वो रूल्स के ओवर एंड अबव
एनफोर्स नहीं होता है, आई थिंक
Student
पीपल फाइंड
politics-
देयर वे अराउंड इट.
तुम स्टूडेंट पॉलिटिक्स में देख लो, स्टूडेंट पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के पास एक रिस्ट्रिक्टेड बजट होता है, बट लुक एट द एडवर्टाइजमेंट दैट दे डू, ऑब्वियसली दे आर गोइंग ओवर बजट. तो मतलब डीएनडी पे लगा हुआ है पॉलिटिकल स्टूडेंट कैंडिडेट का पोस्टर थ्रू आउट द डीएनडी. तो यू कैन इमेजिन मतलब the money flowing in politics, the moment you have money anywhere flowing too much, you can create the best image for yourself and you can do whatever you want.
Exactly. Also, I've gotten so many calls from people from ABVP to vote for them in the DUSU elections last year, around September, I guess. It was a nightmare, to be honest.
Now, since we're talking about youngsters, I've noticed that I see a lot of AI generated stuff too. I mean, I'm no longer sure how much of my data is being compromised with these agencies misusing them. It leaves me wondering if our data to the government is being misused for politics.
What is your say on this, Anshul?
100%. Big concerns. And this is not a concern that I personally feel alone. Again, we did a survey recently. The Kerala government was coming out with a consultation. They wanted to know what people think about use of AI. So we did a survey and we submitted it to the Kerala government and we asked people कि आपके हिसाब से AI का सबसे harmful use क्या हो सकता है? That was one of the main questions. Okay, the two biggest thing that people selected was one, misinformation and fake news, and second was political misuse of AI. Right? So people already feel that AI is likely to have a detrimental impact on politics, or at least the way they view politics, right? Even now, you have so many politicians who say whatever they want and then get away by saying ये तो deepfake था. चेक करने का तरीका क्योंकि इतना आसान नहीं है, खैर अब आ गए हैं तरीके चेक करने के, but it's likely to impact politics in a very big way. And see, it also happened in the US. I don't know if you are aware, but in the last election, a call went to Democratic Party voters which had the voice of Joe Biden, but the message was being delivered for Trump.
Yeah. Oh.
And that was
Yeah,
a
I
fake
remember.
message, which was created using AI, right? So the likelihood of that happening now, audio AI being misused to say that, oh, इस इंसान ने ये बोला है, audio है हमारे पास, आप उसको decipher करते रहोगे जब तक narrative तो create हो चुका होगा. And there's a Stanford study that says that even so, if a person accesses a piece of misinformation and they believe in it, even if you tell them that this was fake, it doesn't change their core belief in it. They still continue believing in it. They will say कि ठीक है होगा fake, but मैं तो जानता हूँ कि ये ऐसा ही है.
Another concern in this era of political PR is data privacy. I cannot imagine how my data is being used, and I feel like data privacy is actually a myth in this digital era. So, what is your say on this, Anshul?
Yes, it is. Because see, the basic principle of privacy, which we definitely don't follow as a country, is when you volunteer your personal identifiable information, which is your phone number, for
Yeah.
example, or where you live, or your email ID. Technically, you give consent for a certain number of things. I want to give my number because I want to receive OTP. I want to give my number because I want to be told where my constituency for voting is. You don't give an overarching consent for everything. So what that basically means is that consent management in our country when it comes to data itself is fairly weak, right? We don't have proper laws that define what consent management means. Now there is a new law that is coming in. It's called DPDP, Data Protection Act, right? Under the Data Protection Act, the onus of managing consent is only on social media companies. So how a Facebook reaches out to me is defined by the government, but it still does not apply to government agencies. In an ideal scenario, an act like DPDP or anything that manages consent should apply to all government
Yeah.
all services,
Yeah.
private, public, or whatever they may be. It should apply to all, and I as the consumer or the user or the voter should have the right to decide कि किस चीज के लिए मुझे आप कितना reach out कर सकते हो. Because if I can't do that, then I don't have agency. There's like nobody took my consent. It just like flooded my WhatsApp all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I think it's a larger problem of the fact that consent management does not exist, but also very aligned to the fact that people in general don't care about their personal data in our country. We are very willing to volunteer our information without necessarily knowing what's going to happen with that information.
Okay, so we are concluding this podcast with a lot of knowledge and perspectives on how PR tactics are implemented for political gains. With the advent of social media and AI, the whole landscape for political PR has widened in horizons. With this, we all truly hope that the citizens keep their eyes open and mind clear to combat these manipulative strategies. Wishing everyone a good luck for the Lok Sabha elections 2024. Thank you, everyone.